Hey, I'm Maya Table and I'm young and great. Ow. I'm Maya Table. I am a director and producer and creative director. A producer is a person that takes the vision of a director. I normally relate it to an event planner. It's the same exact skill set. It's planning, it's someone telling you their idea and you thinking of the vendors and the resources to execute that full idea from start to finish. I don't think there was an exact moment. I think it's just like a series of trying to figure stuff out. So I went to school to be a dermatologist, but I'm squeamish, blood, all that stuff. So that's out the picture. And then so I figured, what movie was it? I think it was The Best Man, and I saw Nia Long, and she was doing something in the control room. I'm like, what's that? That looks interesting. So I figured out that it was film or TV. And so just through a series of internships, I kind of learned that, okay, what I want to do is I don't want to be on radio because I was interning for the radio station. I'm like, okay, let me be a PA for, video sets. I'm like, this is pretty cool. So it's just like a series of trial and error. Somebody I went to school with, it was actually a guy trying to holler at me. He was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, baby girl. And so when I found out his position was like a lead PA, so he was like, yeah, I'm working on these film sets. And I'm just like, oh, that looks cool. And he was like, I can get you onto a film set. And I'm like, okay. So the video was T.I.'s video. And so my first job was standing at the front line where you go down the hill. They're filming down the hill. So I had to stand at the front, make sure no one came. I spent 8 hours at the top of the hill. And then after that was cleaning up T.I.'s room. I think we all kind of have to find our strength and way to communicate with people. With me, I always say that I'm a quiet strength. And a lot of women kind of feel like they have to be a bitch or loud, or sometimes either you're that or you're the opposite, which is I'm not going to say anything, let me just kind of be more passive or whatever. So I always find a way you can talk to people and give respect to people and get your point across, especially if people feel like you know the same amount of information as them. So since I was a shooter and an editor, I know the information. I know the same information as the DP or the director. So when you say certain key words, they know, okay, well, I know that she knows what she's talking about. So you don't have to be boisterous about things. And a lot of times I find it's a lot of egos when you first meet people. So if you let people talk and say and give their opinion of what something is, and they let that guard down, you can say, okay, that was great, but let's try boom, boom, boom. And if that doesn't work, a cuss out works too. I always say that I work the best with other alpha females because alphas respect other alphas. Like I recognize that she is being a leader. So as a leader, what do I need as a leader? I need somebody to support me, to understand. I don't want to have to yell to get my point across. I don't want to have to, go do anything outside of my character. So when I see women that are like me, I'm like, what do you need, girl? I got you. So it's never any ego or competition. I think once you find your own strength and your own where you're good at, then it's easier to not feel intimidated. So a lot of times when people do kind of act a certain way towards us, it's because they're intimidated or they aren't secure in their own skill set. I think I don't even see it as like success yet, because each job is so, tough. There's issues in every single job. So a lot of times when I'm done with the job, I'm like, oh, I don't want to produce anymore, So I think I look at it more as like, the job is the same, the skill set is the same, it's just different people that you work with. So that's really that, I think it's kind of sometimes when I sit back and say, oh yeah, I work with this person or that person. Like even lately we did the Janelle Monáe video. And that was so exhausting. And it wasn't until I saw the edit that I was like, I was happy to be a part of that. But it was just so grueling that I think sometimes you don't sit back and recognize like, oh wow, that was cool. Oh wow, I'm working with this person or that person. But each client is the same no matter if it's Make-A-Wish or Janelle or even somebody that's just like a friend doing my friend's video. It's all the same. It's so humbling and kind of puts everything into perspective. Plus, they're my friends over there. So like, once you work with certain people over and over, you like working with them. So with them, it's really fun. And so it's been times where I've been tired and exhausted, but they are so fun to work with that it kind of makes you like what you do again, like your job. It's not that you take it for granted, but sometimes it's just like, I'm tired. I don't want to, plan anything else. But just, but working with them is super helpful, not only because you're looking at people and working with people that are less fortunate. So I think sometimes we take little things for granted, even if it's like, Lord, why am I not at this level of success? Or I don't want to shoot stuff anymore. I don't want to produce anymore. Like what I'm thinking of is stupid or whatever. But then when you meet people who are just happy to, get a new toy because their son is dying of cancer and things like that. It kind of puts you into perspective and say, you know what, it's really not that serious. The things I have, it's a blessing to do small things that this person can even do. So I like working with them because it does help me, kind of stay humble and appreciate, the small things. If I could teach everyone one concept or idea, it would be the concept of living in the moment. And I have to do that too. There's a daily word that I read every day. And I was just telling a friend how people like to just be so hard on the Bible and, and different theories of meditation and stuff. Everything is all saying the same thing. It's living in the moment. And sometimes we can get so worried about, things that haven't happened yet, or kind of replay situations over and over that were bad or good, to where we get stagnant. Or even on social media, like it's been times I'll sit an hour watching people's life, whatever, but not kind of being in the moment and realizing, wow, look how, beautiful the sky is. Or I was with my mom yesterday and she said, look how great big that tree was. And I was outside for an hour. I didn't notice this big tree that was outside. That was like one that you would see in Wakanda, So just kind of being in every single moment and catching those little things that we'll miss that could help us, or even like speaking things into existence, and the things that we speak, we don't see that we already kind of have in front of us. Like I'm always like, Lord, well, I want to, be more successful in this area. And a friend of mine said, well, you are. What are you comparing that to? So it's kind of like living in those moments and not getting overworked for things that haven't occurred or happened yet. And building a business, the greatest joy is building it or creating it, because that's the easy part. It's like, I have an idea. I'm going to create a production company. Great. Here's the logo. Here's this. But I think it's kind of maintaining it and seeing it grow through the ups and downs is probably the hardest part, I would say. And we want things to happen so fast, and especially as small businesses, people go in and out of your company. So with a bigger business, we don't see it all the time because they have an HR department that's handling all that. But with a small business, every time someone leaves, it's like, why? I got to retrain somebody else. And then it is an ego thing. It does affect your ego every time. You're just like, well, do they not believe in me? Why do they want to go work with this person or that person? So once you kind of get over that part and realize it's okay, people are meant for certain times throughout your life and your business, it's so helpful and calming for your mind too. So I think that's probably the hardest part. It's just the mental part of having a business. One of the biggest things is, sitting back and kind of letting people show you who they are, because it's really hard to tell who's not for you or who doesn't have that same vision or who's there for opportunity, because with film, we all know that people think it's so fun. Like, oh, you did this and you work with that person. It's just like, that was tough, and people don't understand the level of work that goes into it. And what I've learned is just giving it time, because I'm one of those people off top, I trust you off top, period. And I remember my art director asked me, why did you give this person a pair of keys to your office? I'm like, well, I have to start off trusting. I can't say, this person might steal or do something crazy, because that would hinder me. So I have to give this person an opportunity to show, improve. And then also we have to realize that people are selfish. We all are selfish. So people have their own reason for being with your company. Some people might come to me because they want to learn how to be a producer. So I can't get mad if they're a production manager and then once they become a producer, they go with someone else. That's okay, because we have to realize that, that's how people are, and it's okay, because we're like that too. We have to think about even the clients that we have. Like, we want this person to be a client to say we've worked with that person to get us to the next person, But in reverse, the client might look and say, well, they are just with me because they want to say they work with me. So I think kind of just taking the ego part out, and then also just kind of releasing that tension that we may have and feeling like, oh, well, this person, wasn't loyal to me and my company and I taught them. It's okay, and giving yourself the courage to do it again, And I think through talking through other people, I talked to a lady who was a line producer. She does it for Will Packer's movies. And so I asked her, I was like, so what happens when you have a production coordinator and you train them, and then do you have to just keep retraining new people? She was like, yeah, you just have to keep retraining new people, because those people are going to go on to do something else. And I was listening to a podcast where Melena was talking about the same thing. So I think hearing them say it was reassuring. And then at one point I'm just like, oh, that sucks. But it's just like a part of being a leader and a part of entrepreneurship, that people are going to want to, they see you as growth. They're going to take little bits and pieces of you and move on and be okay. You have to be okay with that, and know that I'm blessed to be a blessing. And so if you look at yourself in that way, then it doesn't really affect you like that. I would say just do it. That's like the biggest part, because women, especially now, not just women, but guys too, will look at every seminar, will go to every self-help thing, brunch or whatever. And it's just doing it and not being discouraged and giving yourself time, because I even have some production assistants that'll be like, I've worked for 6 months. Why am I not growing? I'm like, so I interned for free for 2 years. That's not to say that you have to do it, but you do have to give yourself time and continue to grow. And if that vision is to be a producer, then you wouldn't get discouraged from if you're not a producer in a year or 2 years. If there's something that you always want, you just kind of keep going and keep at it. So the biggest thing is starting and just not stopping. Even if it's something small that you do every day, or something that's like, okay, let me go learn from a few different producers, or let me just, try to write something myself or produce my own project. But the main thing is just keeping at it, consistency. Be someone's housewife. I don't know. But for real, yeah, the family. That's probably the biggest thing. It would be a family first, producer second. Lately, it's been directing more, because producing is tiring. It's like once you're on, you're on. You can't like halfway produce, or at least I can't. So it's just like, I do like commissioning, which is overseeing productions, because with that, I kind of feel like, oh, something fell on set. That's not my problem. Do you have insurance? Okay, great. So I do like commissioning, being able to oversee stuff. And directing, because producing is just like mentally exhausting. It's like, the director, their work, is kind of what they see on set and the end product. So they have that ego involved. But producing is like that. So when you're on set and you see my set, so if somebody is stressed, if the shoot doesn't go well, then I feel all of that. If something happens, if a production assistant crashes into someone's car in a production truck, because it's happened before, then I feel it. I remember that happened one time and I went home and cried. I'm just like, why? So I think producing is so stressful, but so it'll probably be more like directing or commissioning, or even kind of producing when it comes to TV. So we've been doing that more, actually. I grew up as I always say I grew up in like a little box as like a space cadet, because my parents let us just do whatever we want, whether it's building tents and houses and just being like a flower child, so things didn't become real realities to me until I got to college, because my parents kind of sheltered us, but it was in a good way. They didn't want us to grow up too fast, and they let us be creative and let us, they put us in different activities just to see like, what do you like to do? Maya, you seem like you like to draw, so my mom put me in a drawing class. Or you like softball. And so every time she would put us in a new activity, the only rule that she had was, you can't quit in the middle of the season or session or whatever. You have to finish it all the way through. So if you're playing a sport, you have to finish that full season. You don't have to play next season, but you have to finish this one. If it's a class that's 6 series, you have to finish it, but you don't have to go back. So that was really important to even how I am now. And then when I was 16, she put me in a class with the NAACP, and they taught us how to be entrepreneurs. So I think that always kind of put something in my brain like, okay, I can start something myself. I don't need to ask anybody about anything. I can just do it. So I think my parents were definitely the most influential when it comes to just how optimistic I am. And it's interesting now, like, because when life happens, you really have to try harder to be that person that you naturally are. So like recently we had, a death in the family of someone that's my cousin. And then I went through a hard breakup. And that's the type of stuff that like kind of takes you out of your element and helps you relate to other people, other women, and really kind of helps you say, okay, well, who am I as a person, Because you can either go all the way down into like this deep sinkhole, or you can come back out. So lately I've been kind of working on being who I know I am subconsciously but consciously. So usually I'm optimistic, like, I can do that. I mean, yeah, I can, sure, Didi can do it, I can do it too. So now I found out I have to kind of say, you know what, you can do that, and kind of speaking those things back into existence and really trying hard to not let those mental blocks that we put, get in our way, whether it's mental blocks of failure, mental blocks of people that did us wrong, because when you're naive, you're just going to do it. Nobody's going to do me wrong. Shoot, what I'm saying? So now it's just kind of being able to push past those mental blocks, and I think it's an everyday thing of saying, like, because we can sit and go through in our mind, like, why would he do me like that? I was there for him. And then you have to say, stop, snap out of it, and kind of move forward. So now it's just kind of consciously moving those mental blocks away and kind of being who I was when I grew up, which is optimistic and happy and open, so that those new opportunities and successes can come in.